Okay, here we are. I am with one of my besties in the whole wide world. And I don't want to say my favorite realtor because I work with so many realtors.
I mean, it's our little secret.
Yeah. So don't tell anybody. Lauren Goche, who is a realtor here in Portland at Think Realty.
Yep. Oh, today we just won the Portland Best of Portland Best Real Estate Company.
You did. Congratulations.
I think it's our third or fourth year in a row.
I'm not surprised though. You guys absolutely have, in my opinion.
And L Team won it, so we not only have the best real estate company, but the best realtors all in one.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm like so excited. I'm so proud.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what I want to talk with you about today is growing up poor. Mm-hmm. Because we have clearly had a few sessions and girlfriend talks, forever.
Yes.
And you are one person that really gets this, how you grow up affects like the changes you make for the rest of your life.
Fucking everything.
Especially, and we get that with relationships, like we see our parents' relationship, we're like, I never want to be in a relationship like that. I never want to stay married. I never want to, but we don't think about it for money.
Yeah.
And how our money thoughts and the money modeling and the things that we, saw when we were younger, how that affects us now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, it's all so deeply ingrained. Even the thing that I was talking about being on a boat is like, I feel like it's the same thing because like every time I was on a boat as a really small child, it was with my dad, and he, like, I will never catch up to him with knowledge of boats in the ocean. I mean, it just will never happen.
Right, yeah.
So I have this, a literal scarcity of feeling scarcity on a boat, which is crazy. Like, I'm really fucking good on boats. You know what I mean? But because I've, I'm like, I never will know enough, and which is true. Like, you'll never know enough about anything.
About anything, yeah.
But yeah, even that.
So fascinating. Mm-hmm. And we were talking before this started, so just to make sure that everybody's on the same page here, who you've sailed with before.
Right. So I recently came back from this trip from Croatia with one of my all-time besties, and we got our captain's licenses together, and 6 years ago, and we did our first trip to Greece, and I was kind of the main captain, and she was a co-captain, but it was a little bit more on me. And I was like, oh, I really don't like this. Like, and so I pulled away from doing it, and she skyrocketed. She charters boats and does all this stuff. She's so amazing. And so I got on the boat with her, and I'm like, oh my God, you totally surpassed me. I'm so proud of you. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I learned so much from you this week. And she's like, you just know so many different things than I do. And what she said was, I've really never been on boats with people that know more than me. I've always taught myself and then taught other people.
Yeah.
And then it clicked. And I was like, I've been on a boat with my dad, who's been a commercial fisherman, literally his whole adult life since he was like 14 or something like that. My ex-boyfriend was a professional sailboat racer. The people that I have sat on the boat racing sailboats with were America's Cup racers, Olympic racers,
wow.
All these people. And so I got into my brain, like, I was always like the quote unquote the novice, or I felt like the novice.
Well, sure, around a group like groups like
right?
that. Yeah, totally.
Oh, fuck, I didn't know shit. And so I just ingrained that, like, I don't know anything, because comparatively my whole life I haven't. And I'm like, oh, but there's, okay. But compared to the general population.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like super badass. At sailing. And other things.
And I was just going to say, and other things.
Anyway, so like that was it was such an aha moment to me of like that mindset of like shifting that mindset of like, I'm not enough, to be like, I mean, compared to like professionals.
Totally.
People that have been doing it for literal decades. Yeah, no, I'm not. But that doesn't mean shit.
We get so wrapped up in that comparing ourselves to other people.
Fuck.
Like on every level. It's crazy.
Well, will I break out of that? Like, as I get older, please tell me it'll get
will.
better and better.
You will.
I'm like, please, I need to stop that. Oh,
well,
Jesus.
because that just robs us of joy.
Oh,
every time. Yeah, every single time.
Because even if you're comparing yourself to others as like, I'm better, it's not joy. It's ego. And ego and joy is very different.
Very different.
I mean, it sometimes masks itself as a saying, but I mean, let's be real.
So how have you noticed in your life how growing up with a lack mentality, let's just say, has affected you and the money you've made and, you know.
Fucking everything.
Yeah.
I mean, eating. Eating is, I mean, I have to finish. Like, if there's food in front of me, I am like panicky that I'll never get it again. And we weren't starving. Like, we weren't that poor.
Right.
Like,
right.
My mom was, and she was so good about making sure we ate well. We didn't eat crap, you know, like we were poor hippies. So, you know, like, but it just still, like, if I go to a fancy restaurant, like, I have to clean. I'm like, no, Lauren, you'll have
a meal. You'll have a meal.
You'll have a
Yes.
fancy meal. You have a good meal.
Yeah.
Like, even crap food, I gotta finish it. And I was also thinking, like, not only that, but then because you and I have talked a lot about generational
Yes.
traumas and things passed on.
Yes.
Mindsets, traumas, all that stuff. And then I was like, oh, I think a lot of people my generation. So my dad's grandparents were like hardcore Dust Bowl Depression era. Poor Dust Bowl Minnesota Depression era. So whenever I'd see them, and then they raised my dad, who raised me, it was like, so many times my grandpa would be like, you can't leave anything on the table. Like, it was just like,
yeah.
And then my grandmother's dad was in a concentration camp.
Oh.
And so, you know, like, and they so I have these two very like scarcity, like, oh God, literally for their lives in two different ways.
Yeah.
That then raised their kids, that then raised me. And every generation, you know, has gotten better.
Yeah.
But it's food, it's money, it's, you know.
Well, it's fascinating. I've seen some studies lately where that generational stuff is literally in our DNA.
Oh, epigenetics.
Yeah, isn't it fascinating?
Dude, I am obsessed
Fascinating.
with epigenetics.
Yes.
And it's like, I think it's the if I remember right, and I'm probably gonna like say this publicly and it's gonna be super wrong, but I'm almost positive that the study of that started from Holocaust survivors.
Oh.
Specifically because, and it not in the children, but it shows up in the grandchildren, evidently.
Yeah.
So all these grandchildren, I am a grandchild of a Holocaust survivor, and they were seeing all these things, and so that's how epigenetics, I think, got started. I'm sure I will be proven wrong by that, because I'm kind of broad strokes with history and facts. But yeah, dude, it's so real.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
It is.
But that does not mean that we're locked into that thinking just because
No.
it's in our DNA.
No.
And so I don't want anybody to think that my grandma went through this and so therefore I'm fucking doomed.
Right.
It does not work like that.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, it's awesome to be aware of it and then be like, it's here. Mm-hmm. It's this thing that now you just work on all the tools to counteract it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Well, if we're just taking something physical, like if you have heart disease in your history of heart, okay, so you're going to eat better, you're going to exercise more, you're not going to smoke, all of those things. Right. So the same thing, if you're having extreme poverty and trauma in your life, okay, you better get your fucking shit together.
Well,
you better make sure you're balanced, that you make,
totally.
that you eat well, once again, exercise, all that kind of stuff. So
I can't let this go without saying, like, the privilege of being able to have the space to know these things.
Yes.
I can't not bring it up because, like, it's, like, the fact that I have the time in my life and the money and the space and the energy to be able to, like, go to counseling or see you or be aware of it. That is such privilege in itself, and I think that, and whether it's white privilege or class privilege or both or all these things, it's all of these things.
It's all those things.
That wasn't even a question. It's a dumb question. But you think poverty and you're just fucking surviving.
You are.
You don't have time to, like, be introspective. Like, it is privileged to be able to do this.
So with privilege then comes responsibility. And so
Amen.
that has what has triggered me, because I've had every privilege except a wanker,
Yeah.
but I've had power and
Yeah.
powerful
Yeah.
jobs, all
Yeah.
that. I have
Yeah.
every privilege that there is out there.
Yes.
And so with that, then I do have the time and the resources to consider these things
Right.
and think about these things and make headway with these things. And it's my responsibility to do that. So that is one of the things I've always really admired about you and how you incorporate social justice and all that in your work.
Yeah.
And, well, just in who you are, but then it carries over clearly into your work.
I don't have
too.
really, fortunately or unfortunately, there's separation between me and my work.
Well,
Forget about it. It's like once you start digging into that shit, you can't. And that's the word woke was appropriate. I don't really like it anymore. But it's because like once you've been awoken to that shit, you can't just go back to sleep.
You can't. And that is my hope with Trump. That is my hope, is that those of us who were sleeping and weren't aware
and didn't have to be
and
aware.
didn't have to be aware. We can just go on with our suburban lives and everything is fine.
I hope so.
My hope is that we have really woken up.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, got off topic there.
I know what happened.
So we were talking about.
So being aware of all that and being able to change it.
Yeah.
So, so I was like about the food, but it's, I think we've had some conversations about the fact that like, there's like something that's like when you're in poverty, it's just about paying your bills. When you're in middle class, it's being debt free. And then when you're wealthy, it's like leveraging your debt, leveraging your everything. And like, so I've been super poor.
Yeah.
I have been middle class and then upper middle class. And to be honest, like I'm doing well. I'm definitely upper middle class. Wouldn't say I'm wealthy, but now I have to think about things differently.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating. It's like my trajectory is going up, and then the roots of the poverty are still dug into the ground, and I'm being stretched, right? And so I have my roots of poverty are dug into the ground, and they keep just kind of like talking to me. And then that stretch is that like middle class, like get out of debt. And then like at the very top that I'm reaching for is like, cool, now what?
Freedom.
And that it's so hard to go through those phases, not lose your goddamn mind or feel like you're doing it wrong, or and I one of the things that really upsets me is that the wealthy class doesn't share their secrets.
Yes, I will completely agree with you. That is part of my job. Is I have had the experiences of hanging out with ultra wealthy people. And there's ways that they act different. There's things that they think that are, most of them
and they
they're
don't
thinking
fucking
is
tell you
because they aren't even aware of it, Lauren.
Right,
because that's just
true
how
too.
they are.
I guess that's true. I'm like, oh, fuck you.
You greedy assholes.
But it's true. It's so ingrained, just like so ingrained of like, just pay your bills and stay out of debt. No, and like,
yeah.
And it's interesting because I just saw one of my favorite people in the world when I was in England, and I adore her, and she's at that next level. And one of the things that I was like, oh, they just talk about money.
Oh yeah.
No, they just talk about money, which is something that I really try to do. Even things like, to help the gender equality thing, they say men specifically need to talk about what salaries they make, because I saw some meme, because it's all about memes, like the only person that benefits from you not talking about salaries is the company.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Absolutely.
So like, talk about money, talk about what you make, like all this stuff. And it was such a weirdly like uncomfortable and yet refreshing thing, because we both own businesses, and like I'm such small potatoes, but there's commonalities, and like problem solving and all these things of like how to shift the money in the certain ways and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then like have these relationships, and I was like, oh, you just talk about money, like numbers, and I was like, this is awesome. Whereas poverty and like lower middle class, you know what I mean? Like it's just told like, don't talk about it.
Well, and a lot of it is so equated with self-worth, you know, and so
I 100% just drooled there. Like 100% just drooled. I didn't get it on my shirt
I was
though.
expecting to see it shoot out your nose.
It's so true. That was my drool of truth. Like what is it? Wonder Woman has a lasso of truth.
Truth lasso, I love it.
I have a drool of truth. That's cool.
Yes, but that whole, you know, if you don't have much, you don't want, you know, it's so shame. Our society sets it up where there's this shame of, oh my God, I can't. And people take it on like it's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
what
because
it's
we've been told that
from the time we were born.
Yeah.
Even from our parents that bought into that there's something wrong with us because
and media, and then the wealthy
and
yeah.
all of it.
Yeah. Well, I was literally just telling my wonderful friend this morning about how it wasn't until you helped me shift about my insane amount of credit card debt. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and should I tell people?
Oh, yeah.
I had $65,000 in credit card debt. And I was like so ashamed of it, and I, you know, once it's in credit card, like I'm just like barely holding steady, being able to pay it down because it's how it works, and it's like a whole.
They got it all set up like that.
Like,
yeah.
Fuck you. Like, I can't believe I just said that out loud. But you know what? Like, fuck it. And so you were like, you know, I was like crying about how I just was like filled with shame about it, and you were like, okay, but like, what has it done for you? And then you pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to talk about it. You know, like. I've helped friends. I've made my house into this like amazing sanctuary. I've traveled around the world. I have built my business.
Yes.
I mean, I have fucking built my business.
Yes.
Like, and it has. I mean, I put websites on those credit cards. I like did all this stuff. You know, I paid for my dogs to go to the vet. Like, and it literally was because of that change that I was like, oh. It's amazing. It's now time to take care of it. Like, and then I went out and I got a home equity line of credit and I just paid it off and my credit just shot up like 130 points.
Yes. Isn't it amazing when
God.
you don't have all that debt sitting out
and
there?
It's, I mean, it's still debt. Like, it's still debt. But, like, now I'm like, I have such, like, a joy to paying it off. Like, literally, now I'm like, I can't wait for my first payment. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like so grateful for it. I'm grateful for my house that was able to do that, to give me the equity to be able to pay that off. And I think that's a huge scarcity to abundance shift just in my credit card debt. As like, I was so ashamed of it. Every move I would try to make to deal with it, I hit a wall and then I shut down. And then I would hit a wall and then I would shut down. And then I changed it to something I was grateful for. And then I was like, I'm going to give you a new home and it's going to be the super lovely and then we're going to take care of it. I was like, I'm going to nurture you.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you for letting me live this wonderful life when at that particular moment I didn't have the money. Right. Or I didn't have the money to start my business, you know, or things to my home, or help out
real
family.
Estate, and I was still on food stamps, y'all. Like,
wow, you should be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, like it was rough.
Yeah.
But it's also, and then it's that next thing where I was in that middle class thing of like, I can't take out debt to get rid of debt because then it's more debt, and debt is evil. And you're like, no, dude, that's what people do. They leverage their assets, leverage their debt, and like that's just, and then like shifting towards that, it still feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's hard. But that's, I mean, like you know what we were saying, like the richest people are like the biggest in debt or something. Yeah, like
because it doesn't bother them.
No.
And that's one of the differences. If you're you know lower class people and you have debt.
I don't want to say class.
I don't want to say class either.
Lower income. There it is.
Lower income. I love that.
Yeah.
Lower income people, you feel so much shame. Like, oh my God, I didn't make enough, so I had to put it on the credit card, and you don't want to know your credit card, and it's just this vicious cycle. Where rich people are like, fuck this.
Yeah.
You know, I think even have mentioned this to you before about me buying my car.
Oh, I love this one. I tell people this one. Okay, say it again.
So my friend...
I tell people this all the time.
Because we all feel different about debt. So there's... However you personally feel is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally okay with debt because owning companies, that's how you run it. That's
Totally.
You just get familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I bought a car at the same exact time that my friend Belinda bought a car. She does not like debt. Understandable.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about debt.
Yeah.
So our cars were about 30 grand each, you know, and so she took the money out of the bank and bought her car.
Right.
I kept my money in the bank, and so now I have my 30 grand in the bank and a new car.
Right.
She just has a new car. Totally fine, because maybe for her the peace of mind of not having the debt is there, but I would rather have both.
Right.
There's that
Yeah.
thinking of when you.
It's just such a different. It's just such a different
way.
thinking.
It is a different thinking.
But I mean, and it's like one of those things. Is like, you know, part of my debt was when I broke my ankle, I had to pay like a certain part, so I took out a credit card to be able to pay for that. And I'm like, and I think all the people that are, you know, what's that statistic? Like most, like the majority of Americans are like literally one paycheck away from bankruptcy, or like
almost half of us.
Right.
Isn't that scary?
It's scary. I feel it in my body because I've been there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, and then I really like, and then it was like, once again, like, okay, I'm really grateful that I had those credit cards. So I did.
So you could go get medical care.
Right.
Yeah,
Which is,
absolutely.
that's a whole other
that's
fucked up conversation.
That's
but,
a few other podcasts.
yeah, or a whole other podcast show, or oh Jesus Christ. But yeah, it is, yeah, really, that's been a really big shift for me in my like scarcity to abundance mindset, and like an enormous one that I feel has been like wildly freeing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you attribute to, I mean, going from being on food stamps, how long have you been a realtor? Is it 5 years?
No, I think I'm in my 6th year.
6th year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To where you are now. Okay, let's just throw this out there. Luck.
Yeah,
and I want to say that
100%. I mean, not 100%. Women have a tendency to say luck, and that's bullshit. But like, you know, one of the things is like, I entered in the market when it just started to come back and was booming. Like, entering in the market now, as a realtor, like being right, it would suck. Like, the timing was amazing.
Yeah.
I had an amazing mentor, and I think another thing of that was part of that was I had a mentor that was really like, she was like, go meet a bunch of other realtors and lenders and like pick their brain. And so I just like, whoever I had a crush on in real estate, I was like, can I take you out to drink? And they were very generous, because now I know as a realtor, you get that fucking asked all the time. Jesus Christ, like 8 million times a week.
Yeah.
And so all these people were super generous to take their time, and then, you know, I know there's a lot of trial and error, but I think one of the biggest things for me, so, and I've told this story a lot, is that like when my mentor, Tony Michael, when she originally, she talked me into getting into real estate, and she actually was like, you should do it, you'd be great, you'd love it. And I was like convinced. So I had this corporate job in my 20s that I just felt dead inside about.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where, like, you know, I straightened my hair every day, and I wore boring clothes, and I just was just a shell of who I am, right? It was like a completely like male run industry, and there was it was just not me. And so when I quit that job, I made 3 promises to myself: that I would never work my ass off to make someone else rich again. I would never have a job that I would have, you know, 2 weeks off a year.
Yes.
And that I would never do something that I couldn't be authentically me again ever in my life. And I made that commitment, and I actually went back on that commitment like once, and I sobbed, and I was like, no. I almost took a job because I was fucking poor, and they dangled this insane job, and I took a weekend, and I was like, no, I'd rather be poor.
Good for you.
Whew, it was scary.
Well, one of the things that I think has contributed to your success is you being authentic.
And that's where I'm getting at. She would basically was like, I was like, I don't want to be this like shoulder pad wearing like bench bus face whatever, and she was like, dude, don't you think that there's some other like liberal foul-mouthed like wild person out there that also wants to buy a house and doesn't want to hire that person, want to hire you? And I was like, bing 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 ding 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 ding. And so she was like, just be you.
Yeah.
And she just drilled it into me, and then I was like, and then look out. And then I was like, wee.
Well, if you can just be yourself, that's what I do. That's why I love my job now. I just be myself, and I get paid to be me.
Totally.
And that is where I think the dynamic is shifting in our country right now.
Yeah.
Is we have been, look at the amount of people that are depressed and anxiety and, suicide and all of it, because we're fucking trying to fit in these other boxes that are not us. Like you were saying, it wasn't you. It was a shell of you.
No.
But now I think things are shifting. You want to be successful now, be fucking authentic.
Well, but now authentic has taken on this thing where I swear to God, I see people that are like trying to be authentic that just end up going into this what they think authentic should be, and I'm like, no, just be your fucking self. I don't like.
Right.
And then I'm like, maybe you don't have yourself, and
they don't, and that's okay.
Babies.
But they're trying. They're trying.
I know.
And
it's like the more and more and more I'm just like heart open, honest,
yes.
like posting political views. Like then it just self-selects, and then I love my job.
Yes.
Because I'm like the people that I get to work with.
Yes.
They
are
know,
your people.
They're my people. They're just my people. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that feels good, and then I love my job still.
Right.
Because I don't have to like turn on or of course I turn on or turn off just,
from being around people.
Yeah.
If you're at home by yourself, you don't need to be on, Yeah, exactly.
But it's not a completely like mask anymore.
Right.
Which is
awesome. It's totally awesome. And that's one of the things I really love about Think.
Yeah.
Also,
everybody's like that there.
Everybody is like that. So when you're surrounded with everybody that's being their best
so
selves,
normalized.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my friends are all like, people
Totally.
say, well, aren't you afraid of like putting your spiritual? It's like, afraid of what?
No.
Like, this is how everybody I know thinks. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. Like, it's really it's super. Who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating because like so many of my friends are business owners, and like social justice is for just really forefront in their lives and their businesses and their beings, and like they work for their community. They're about improving themselves so they can take their improvement and then like apply it to the people around them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like, because that's now the only people I surround myself with,
Yes.
it's just like, well, how could you do anything else?
Yes.
Like that is no joke. Who you surround yourself with, it is.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It is so true that
Damn.
that 5 people, that you surround yourself, you become like the 5 people you surround yourself with. It's so true.
Which I'm just like thinking of my 5 people, and I'm like, fuck yeah. They're all badasses and totally amazing.
Well, and that's something else about privilege that we just overlook.
I know.
Okay, as we're sitting here talking, you just got back from a sailboat trip, and spending time
Yeah, it was
in
2
Croatia.
weeks away.
2
Yeah.
weeks away. We're talking about people we know that are other business owners.
Totally.
This is a whole nother level that we're not even aware of that we're there.
Yeah. Because we're not in survival mode. Mm-hmm. And I think, I just keep thinking, oh gosh, I think I've told you this, but like, my mom was a single mom, and there was 3 of us, and my little sister has Down syndrome, and we were poor. My mom was also trying to get herself an education, so she was like she was trying to get her college degree, when we were all, it was brutal. But she also didn't want us to, be in Section 8. So
Right.
so she was like, I got to get you in the best neighborhood.
Right.
And she traded our mechanic, like, pies for doing, she was
creative.
super creative,
Yeah.
like hustler,
Yeah.
made sure like we went to the opera at the $5 tickets, you know what I mean, like that
Yep.
kind of stuff. But she said, like, she described like those years of like, I was just walking on this path and everything was just burning around me, and like in these like smoldering piles of just disaster, and I had to ignore it, and just get by without burning up. And if something burst into flames, I had to go deal with it and then go back on the path. And like, that's survival.
Yes.
She didn't have fucking time to do anything else.
Oh yeah.
She was like, I have to make sure my children stay in school and are
have
fed.
food. Yes.
And then she like got us to go to the opera once in a while for $5, but like, I don't even know how she did that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
And I just keep thinking like, it's survival mode. It's survival mode. It's survival mode. And like, I just have to constantly remind myself, like, and I think that that's another really interesting key is, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, when you come from poverty and then you get out of it,
Yeah.
you're it's interesting because someone really talked to me about this a lot. You shy away from it. You're scared of it. You don't want it. You're like, if I get close, it'll happen again.
Oh.
You are like super weirded out by homeless people. Like, and I've experienced some of that, and it's guttural. It's safety. It's like, this reminds me too much of it. And so then you like, and then you separate yourself more and you get more distant and you forget.
Yeah.
Like, you do it on purpose. Like, it might be subconscious that you forget, but it's like, and I definitely have those feels where I'm like, and I think that's where that whole bootstrap, quote unquote, bootstrap mentality comes from.
Yeah.
Like, that whole, I did it, why can't you?
Yes.
Which is bullshit.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
fuck that, pull myself out by the
that in our country
God.
right
Fuck
now.
Off. Fuck you.
Just come on.
Yeah, you're right. You did it all by yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Like, cool.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Anyways, and so I think that there's a lot of, I think about that a lot. Like, once you've gotten out of it, you'll do, like, you have to separate yourself in this, like, extreme way because it's really scary to be exposed to it because it triggers the scarcity. It triggers all this stuff.
Yes. And you can see yourself in, and we can all see, if we really look at it, we can all see ourselves there clearly.
Of course.
But,
I mean, if you have any empathy at all.
Totally. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of people about that like, you know, one of my friends, Corey Huff, he's like amazing, and he came from like, I mean, my poverty was rich compared to his, from what I can tell. And he noticed that about himself, and then he was like, fuck it, I gotta go volunteer at a homeless shelter. Like, I can't let myself, like, it makes me really uncomfortable now, and that cannot stay.
Right.
And I love
Good
that.
for him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just loved that, like, no, I know, like, I've escaped it. Awesome. That doesn't mean you get to leave it behind. Like, once again, using your privilege, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's like this, it's that thing is like, once you're out of it, that doesn't mean you don't reach back. And
Exactly. That's when you reach back and pull everybody with you. Exactly.
Easier said than done. Well, because it's, you know, it's not just handing someone a sandwich. It's this mindset.
It is mindset. And that takes work. And when you are riding a bus for an hour, working 12 hours, picking up your kids, cooking dinner, doing the laundry, when do you even have a second to even think about your mindset?
No.
You're, like you said with your mom, it's fucking survival.
Yeah.
Let's just get through the day.
And if you do,
you're
not going to be doing the hard work of that. You're going to turn your brain off with the fucking TV because you just want a goddamn break.
I just want a break. Exactly. Yeah. I'm not going to spend my time examining my lack mentality to try to fucking change it.
No.
On the fucking 42 bus.
Yeah.
You know?
Amen to that.
Yeah.
But oh man, it's so layered. And the more I dig in, and it's like, it's even like, I have like these like weird hoarding tendencies. Because I'm like, I have money. What about if I don't have money tomorrow? At least I'll have this stuff to what about if I needed this when I didn't have money? At least I'll have it now. Okay. I mean, my basement is a little scary. Like, you know, and I realize that about myself. Like, I'm like, you don't actually need that. But in the back of my mind is like, but what about when you don't have money and you do need it?
What about next year?
Yeah.
What about if you don't close any deals next year?
Yeah.
And what are you going to, you might need this next year.
And then it's interesting because I think that also, like, like, my family is like a bit like preppers light, you know?
Yeah, we
like,
talked about this before. Preppers light.
Preppers light.
I love that.
And so I have my bug out bag and I've stored my water, but like my mind goes into the whole like, well, what about if something really bad happen? I want to be completely prepared because I don't want to be on the very, 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 very bottom of this shit. And it like, I mean, my brain goes in its spirals. We're talking like, I'm like, well, what about when society breaks down? And then like, it goes for it. You know what I mean? And I think that is part of that.
I think it's part of it too, because clearly I'm, living where we do with our bags. I have the earthquake prep right there, you know, and my water stored and all that. Yeah. So that's a responsible thing to do.
Right.
But you know where I never do go is I never go to because I have internal resources. I can fucking figure anything out.
Right.
You know, so
totally.
for me, then I don't feel that scared stuff.
It's not even scared. That's a weird thing. Like, it's something other than scared. It's like, so did you ever do the desire map?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
yes.
you do the desire map, and then and the whole thing is you end up choosing like I think 3 words that are like your thing, and like my very first one that came was capability.
Oh wow.
Because I always have that no matter how much money I have or how many resources I have. And so like the whole like hoarding / like extreme like mind of like when society breaks down, I'm like, I'm still, and you're like, I have internal resources, but I'm like, I want to be capable, and it like when I feel it in my body, when I think about it, I like dig deep and I get like super like stubborn. and it's like part of that where I'm like, you will not fucking catch me like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I get like real angry about it. Like
wow.
when I examine it, it's like, you know, yeah. It's really fascinating. And so I like think about that like it like it starts with like, for me, you know, like ordering something on Amazon that I'm like, I might need one day. You can even look at my kitchen. I don't cook, but I have every fucking gadget you could ever imagine in case the one time that I want to make that thing.
Yeah.
I've used a spiralizer once.
Yeah.
Do I have the best? Yes.
That is one of the things that I have loved about downsizing, you know, because I had that, I don't know if you were ever came to my other home, but I had this big, huge home, you know, and then I downsized to this small space, and I had to get rid of like metric shit tons of stuff.
Yeah.
And now that I've been here, it's been, you know, a little bit over 2 years, I'm realizing the small amount of stuff I have left, I don't even use some of it. So, like, I could go down even... It's a good feeling. Yeah. It's a really good feeling.
So, this is an interesting thing that's happened to me. Because, when I had that shitty corporate job, I was fucking depressed.
Understandably.
Yeah, I was in a relationship that was, like, really unhealthy. I was living in a town I hated, a job I hated. Like, it was real bad. So, and I lived in, like, this plastic apartment. You know what I mean? Like...
I do.
Built in the 70s or 80s.
I do,
and
yes.
It's like fucking gray and terrible. And like, oh my God, like I didn't like how it was.
Plastic apartment.
But you know what I mean? Like
Classic.
it's so.
I've never heard that before.
I like it's just what it is, you know. And I didn't even have the like energy to even decorate it, to be honest. Like I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So I was like retail therapy, and I would just buy a bunch of shit and it wasn't even. It was just like I need the tiniest dopamine. Anything.
Yeah.
It's really what it was.
Yeah.
I need something to like get a little shot of dopamine.
Yeah.
So then I like quit my job and broke with my boyfriend and sold everything I owned and started traveling for a few years, jumped on a boat. And then I was living in Mexico, and I was like, I had my backpack, and like the happiest I was is like I had this like, I was really stoked because the studio apartment I was renting had a bed. Literally that's it. And it's like one day I found this fruit crate, and it was really good shape, and I like splurged and bought some paint. I painted it red, and that was my bedside table, and I was like, woo, living it up. and then I lived like that for a while, for a couple years, and I came back and I was like, I really want to remember that it wasn't the stuff.
Right.
And I've snuck back into the stuff, but I've snuck back into the stuff in a different way now. And now, like, I look around my house, and if you've been to my house, like, it's not, like, it used to be plastic stuff in a plastic apartment. And now I'm like the opposite of the Marie Kondo.
Your apartment is, or your house is amazing.
Thank you. But it's like definitely not Marie Kondo. Like, it is, there's shit.
Yeah.
But now, for the most part, like, I'd sit in my living room and everything in there, with exception of my couch, which is from IKEA, but whatever. But I also, like, don't want to ever have anything nice because my dogs destroy it.
Yeah.
Everything in there is art from a friend, something I found on the street, literally,
or from your travels, yes.
Or like I literally can pick everything I can touch in there has meaning, from the blankets to the different plants, like everything.
I love it.
So it's interesting, like the scope, but then also, like, you know, all the shit in the kitchen that isn't have a story. It's just like that like, oh God, what if I need it? What's the answer? I don't know.
That's a perfect place to end. We don't know.
We don't know. The answers we don't know.
Thank you so much. As always, we have great conversations.
I know, we could probably just talk for hours and hours
So
and hours
we should
and hours.
come back and do this again and talk about,
always.
Yeah, totally. So
we could clearly talk the world to the end, so.
And then some.
Yeah.
Okay, love you.